Europe could not exist and attain the level of development it did without plundering the resources of Africa, both natural and human.
What's up guys, what's up good people? Once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, that has just been a portion of the speech that we're about to watch and hear from the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, who is PJ Patterson, whereby he said that Europe is only what it is right now because of Africa. And if not for Africa, Europe wouldn't be what it is right now. And we all agree with him. Now, before we even continue with that video, I love to play for you a video of a video showing reasons as to why PJ Patterson is best known as the worst Prime Minister of Jamaica. I don't know your take on that. Of course, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Now, I want to play for you that video. And please remember, if you're coming across my channel for the first time, if you're coming across my video for the first time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment. So guys, watch this video up to the end, and then I'll be back with a few comments.
I'm here to highlight the reasons why most Jamaicans consider PJ Patterson the worst Prime Minister to ever serve the people of Jamaica. Percival James Patterson, more commonly known as PJ Patterson. He was born on April the 10th, 1935 in the parish of Hanover. He then relocated to Kingston, where he attended Calabar High School. Upon PJ completion of high school, he pursued higher learning at the University of West Indies and also the London School of Economics. PJ was the chairman of the U.S.A. External Affairs Commission. That's when his interest in politics came about, because he was exposed to other world leaders and their thoughts and making changes in their country through representational politics. PJ also holds 2 degrees, and he is also the recipient of the Leverhulme Scholarship and the Sir Hugh Perry Prize for Excellence in Law of Contracts. PJ is a lawyer by trade outside of politics. PJ's entry in representational politics came in the year 1958 as an organizing staff for the People's National Party. He then became a member of the party's National Executive Council in the year 1964. 5 years later, he became an opposition senator appointed by then party president Norman Manley. In the year 1969, PJ became the People's National Party vice president, just at the age 33, and was the youngest person to ever hold that position in the PNP. When then Prime Minister Michael Manley decided to run for the office in the year 1969, he turned to a young PJ Patterson to lead his campaign, and that was the beginning of their partnership, which lasted for over 25 years. In 1972, the campaign PJ managed for Michael Manley ended up won the general election. At this time, PJ was awarded with the appointment of his first cabinet position in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism. PJ was elected the Member of Parliament for Westmoreland South Eastern in the year 1970, the constituency he held until his retirement from representational politics in 2006. From 1978 to 1980, PJ served as Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. PJ's political career was derailed in 1980 general election, when he lost that election and lost his constituency to a man by the name of Euphemia Williams, after which he made the now famous speech, "I shall return." PJ was handed the Prime Minister job in the year 1992 after Michael Manley had stepped down and retired from representational politics. but PJ went on the following year to win the general election, defeating Edward Seaga. PJ held the post as Prime Minister for Jamaica from the year 1992 to 2006. PJ had never lost a general election. Okay, that was just an overview of PJ Patterson's life and political career. Now let's get to the meat of the matter as to why PJ is considered the worst Prime Minister amongst many Jamaicans. Firstly, in the year 1996, PJ Patterson put up JPS, that's Jamaica Public Service, for sale. However, the sale did not went through because the 3 bid that came in, the government was not satisfied with that price. However, in the year 2001, JPS was sold to Myrant, who acquired an 80% ownership in the month of March 2001 in JPS. Secondly, between the year 2002 and 2005, PJ fixed the price of bauxite while production costs went up and the aluminum price went down. And at this time, bauxite was one of our main contributors to the national GDP. PJ also sold the government majority stake in the state-owned company Jamaica to an overseas entity. PJ sold the government 43% stake in cement company to a Trinidadian company who still holds control of cement company up to this day. He sold our national airline, which is Air Jamaica, which gave Jamaicans across the world a sense of pride. He sold the Norman Manley International Airport in the year 2003. He sold Donald Sangster International Airport that same year to a Mexican company who is currently the owner of both airports in Jamaica. His party was in control of the government when the garment and manufacturing company exited out of Jamaica. This industry provided a lot of jobs for Jamaicans across the country, and I know it was devastating for enough Jamaicans who was laid off. I know this for a fact because I was affected by this firsthand. I should have mentioned, when Myron purchased JPS in 2001, couple years after, they sold it to a next American company by the name of Mary Benny. At the time, Mary Benny was filing for bankruptcy in the United States of America. Soon after they purchased JPS and came to Jamaica, they raised the light bill on the general public, which see the company's profit went to an all-time high. Soon after, they withdrew their bankruptcy filing from the United States federal government. They then came out in a press release and said PJ Patterson was their chief advisor. All these companies PJ had sold in the late 90s and early 2000s. If these companies were still under the governance or the running of Jamaican, it would be a total different argument as it relates to our economy. Because at no time a company like JPS should be privatized. This company shouldn't be for profit. The country Jamaica or the government of Jamaica own absolutely nothing in this country. PJ sold out all of it. They always said, it's not the same day a leaf drop a water bottom it rotten. And this is a true testament to Jamaica. Because at the time when PJ sold all these companies from Jamaica, it wasn't affecting it. It seemed like the best decision at the time. But now, 10 to 15 years on, it seems to be the worst decision Jamaica has ever made. One Prime Minister single-handedly sold all the major industries in the country. Just imagine if Jamaica did still have control of cement company, JPS, the airports. The country would be in a much better state as it relates to the economy. The two main indicators which indicate how good our Prime Minister has done during his tenure at the top seat in the country is how that Prime Minister handles the crime situation and how that Prime Minister handles the economy. And I'm going to now give you the numbers as it relates to PJ Patterson when he was the Prime Minister. When PJ took over the country as Prime Minister in the year 1992, the loss of life for that year was 629. When PJ left the office in the year 2006, the loss of life for that year was 1,340, which is about 120% increase in loss of life, which is very bad because for most of his time, the loss of life was over 1,000 for the year. And he also oversees one of Jamaica's most bloodiest year, which is 2005. As it relates to the economy, in the year 1992, when PJ took over Jamaica, the GDP for the country was $3.5 billion. When he left in the year 2006, the GDP was 11.9 billion US dollar. The economy had grown, so I can give him props for that. However, when compared to some of the other Caribbean islands within the same time frame, this is a joke as it relates to percentage and growth of the economy. One example is Trinidad and Tobago. During the same time period, Trinidad left from 5 billion to 18 billion. And not to mention all of the scandals that rocked the PNP party when PJ Patterson was the Prime Minister. Namely, the FinSoc scandal, the Cuban light bulb scandal, the Goodyear call center and Tech Village scandal, the NSWMA scandal, the Traffic Bureau scandal, the NHT scandal, the NetServe scandal. These are just to name a few. You can pause the screen and look at the rest of them. In conclusion, I'm not saying PJ Patterson was a bad person or a bad individual. However, he made multiple bad decisions while being the Prime Minister of Jamaica for that 14 years. And it continued to hurt us. So if you disagree with my stance and multiple other Jamaican stance and PJ being the worst Prime Minister to ever serve Jamaica, let's have a discussion in the comment section.
They know that. The West knows that. They're acutely aware of their actual total dependence upon Africa. If Africa manufactured, if they used their own resources, their own minerals, their own materials for their own industries, well, the entire economy of the West would collapse. And with the collapse of their economy, their whole so-called civilization would collapse. Africa is the foundation upon which they built their house. So they know this. And like I said, this is why no matter what else changes in the world, no matter how power dynamics shift in the world, the subjugation of Africa has been maintained for over 800 years. There's literally nothing more important to them than this. They tell you that if you nationalize, then there will be massive capital flight, investors will run away, and so on. Well, think about that for a second. They're trying to scare you with consequences that they themselves will be imposing. They're warning you that if you do something that is in your country's best interest, they will punish you. This is very different from telling you that the policy in and of itself is actually bad. They're telling you that they will make it a bad policy because of what they will do to you if you implement it. You understand? These people are threatening you, and then you're supposed to trust their advice? The advice of these neoliberal predators? You're supposed to listen to them and trust their advice when they are blatantly telling you that they will punish you if you do something to try to make things better, to try to change things? I mean, they couldn't make it more obvious, their malice. They couldn't make their malice more obvious. They couldn't make it any more obvious how against your best interests they are. How much they put their own private interests above the interests of their country. They're openly identifying themselves to you as your enemy. You understand me? I mean, they're not saying that nationalization doesn't work. They're not saying that it isn't beneficial. They're saying that they will do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't work. They're saying that they will sabotage nationalization for their own sake, for the sake of their own profit interests. And still you let this type of people have a say in policy discourse? Well, that's humiliating. They hold you in contempt and they don't even hide it. I mean, for instance, the nationalization of key sectors, such as mining, such as energy and finance. This is essential to try to break the stranglehold of foreign capital on your country, and to ensure that the country's resources are actually used for the benefit of the people and for the benefit of the domestic economy. The countries in the global south, in fact, they're in a position today to actually dictate the terms now. If Westerners want to pull out their capital, so say you nationalize, okay, if Westerners want to pull out their capital, they want to withdraw their investments, okay, go ahead. Dig around in your own lands for the minerals you need to make your stuff. And good luck to you. And all the global south countries, it's time for them to break away from this paradigm. Break away from Western domination and start implementing all of those policies that they know perfectly well will benefit them, whether America likes it or not. I mean, can you imagine if the Gulf countries didn't put their oil sector under government control? Where would they be now? But look at where they are now. Look at the amount of capital they have now. No, this millennium-long system of subjugation needs to come to an end. And it really doesn't matter if the road to liberation is a little bit rocky. I'd rather be traversing a rocky road than be buried under the rubble, which is where the West has kept Africa for centuries. This is the richest and most important continent on the planet. And the West stole your riches and they stole your importance, and they've been an imposter on the throne for far too long. It doesn't make any sense to be afraid of someone whose power is actually dependent upon you. That's a psychological power, not an actual power. They have a psychological power over you. But every element of their real power is completely derived from you yourselves. It's like your hand is on the tap that the hose is attached to that they use to waterboard you. And all you have to do is turn it off.
Here are 4 strategic African countries that the United States and its allies in the West has captured to keep a hold of Africa and keep Africa enslaved. Number 1, Nigeria. Yes, if you control Nigeria, you control the whole of West Africa. Nigeria, of course, they've got a good network of roads from Nigeria to other West African countries. They've got air transport well linked to all the cities in West Africa. And Nigeria militarily is the biggest. You know, Americans have made Nigeria the biggest military deliberately so that they can easily control West Africa, intimidate other countries. That's how they've kept control. And recently, they pampered the Nigerian economy artificially to become Africa's biggest, when it's not true. You cannot have Africa's biggest economy with 13 million people threatened by hunger in 2024. It doesn't happen. You can't hear of hunger in South Africa. I mean, Gauteng alone in South Africa is the biggest economy. You can't compare with any country, but it's just a district in South Africa. So it's not true that Nigeria is the biggest economy. Americans twerk. They brought down the South African economy. Remember what they did with the banks, conniving with the banks to bring down the rand and all that, so that they should lose track when it comes to Standard & Poor credit rating? Yeah, that's America trying to pamper Nigeria. And why did they pamper Nigeria like that? They were trying to hit back at South Africa for joining the BRICS. Yeah, you get it? So, control Nigeria, you control West Africa. And you know, when they pamper these people, they pamper them socially as well. Nigerians feel like they're top dogs in West Africa, you know. And you know, you cannot talk to a Nigerian about Pan-Africanism. Have you heard a Nigerian talking about Pan-Africanism? If there is, very few. But they don't talk Pan-Africanism. You know, they feel like they're top dogs, America is with them and all that. You know, they pamper them socially, deliberately, so that they should have no feelings for any other West African country when it's suffering under the boot of the United States and its allies. And, you know Nigerians with Israel. You know, Israel is their heaven, their promised land. You know, you cannot talk to a Nigerian about genocide in Israel. You know, you can't, because they did a good job of brainwashing Nigerians in that area. Let's not even go there. Country number 2, Egypt. Yes, control Egypt, you control North Africa. All the countries, Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, Sudan, Ethiopia, they are under Egypt. Egypt is superior militarily, economically, and Egypt is well linked by road, by rail, by air transport, you know, very well linked in North Africa. And as usual, the Americans have pampered the Egyptians to feel that they are most important people in North Africa. So when they hear that this such country, like they did to Libya, devastating that country, the Egyptians were just, oh, well, it's none of our business. We're good with the United States, you know. So they have pampered them economically, socially, so that they should have no feelings for any other. Like they're eating on the same table, but they're not really. They're just another African country that they're exploiting, you know. And that's how the United States plays this game. So you control Egypt, you control North Africa. Third country, that the United States and its allies strategically controls on the African continent is Kenya. Kenya is well placed strategically. The rails and road networks from Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, all of them connect to Kenya. And they did that deliberately because they want to get a good grip on East Africa. The United States deliberately made the Kenyan army the strongest army, and that's for a reason. They're sending them into Haiti to keep the peace in Haiti. But in actual fact, they're doing the dirty work for the United States in Haiti. They're doing that in Somalia already. They sent their troops in Somalia on the orders of the United States to keep the peace in Somalia. But they're doing the dirty work there. They're simply trying to make sure that all East African countries are kept in check and the United States keeps its control over the eastern part of Africa. Yes, talk to a Kenyan about Pan-Africanism. How many Kenyans have spoken Pan-Africanism? One guy, Patrice Lumumba, I give it up to him. I give it up to you, sir. But he's a lone star. Kenyans don't share the same sentiments with Patrice Lumumba when it comes to Pan-Africanism. He's like a desert flower, rose. I don't know what they call those flowers that you just find in the desert, just there, alone in the middle of nowhere. That's Patrice Lumumba. Kenyans have been socially pampered by the Americans to feel superior to everybody in East Africa. There's a reason for that. That's what Americans do best. They pamper you so that you feel nothing for the others who are suffering. Just look at what they've done with our African leaders. They are so rich, they are billionaires, but they are running the poorest countries on earth, and they feel no remorse. Fourth country that the United States and its allies in the West control is South Africa. Yes, if you control South Africa, you control the whole of Southern Africa. South Africa has got a good road network into Africa, rail, air, and if you control the South African economy, you control the whole of Southern African economy. And the United States was very scared when they saw that, these guys, they've gone to BRICS. These guys have kicked Israel out. But Ramaphosa is paying a big price for that because they are coming hard on him. They want regime change. In this 2024 election, the ANC has lost its majority in parliament. They've divided the South Africans so good. As usual, the Americans, they have pampered the South Africans to make them feel like they're the most special guys in Southern Africa, and they won't care a thing about Pan-Africanism because the Americans do it best. They'll pamper you to make you feel important and part of them. And South Africans are light-skinned. Maybe they feel like they're closer to the white skin. Maybe. Because they voted for a white party, DA. The party that says in its manifesto that they'll never give the land back to the black people. That's the party that South Africans have voted for to keep it in second place and very, very close to power. But the party that speaks Pan-Africanism like the EFF, they've kicked it so far down to fourth place. And very, very soon, the DA might start ruling South Africa, slow by slow. America wants South Africa back, and they want to punish Ramaphosa. And Americans are sending a message that if you stand against America and Israel, you're going to pay the price. And this is the message they're sending to Ramaphosa right now. So the Americans are fighting to get South Africa back. This is exactly what is happening. America has gotten hold of the whole of Africa using 4 countries, Nigeria, Egypt, Kenya, and South Africa.
Now, once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Tyrell Reactions, and I have to appreciate you all for the love and support you've been showing unto me. And it is a new year, and I'd love to wish you a happy new year. Now, back to our video. The video we've just seen, one part was about PJ Patterson, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica. Now, in this video, PJ Patterson was talking about Africa, or rather Europe, squandering the African resources. He also said that if not for Africa, Europe wouldn't be what it is right now, and that Europe is only developed because of the African resources. As we all know, Africa, we are the largest continent that is rich in a lot of resources. Africans, or rather Africa, we export a lot of our resources to the Western countries. And in return, we only get crumbs, something that cannot even benefit us. So basically, what I'm trying to say is Africa, we are responsible for developing Europe. Now, that's just one part of that video. And of course, I love to sum up a few commentaries regarding the videos that we've just watched. Now, another thing I'd love to talk about is that the reasons that we've seen as to why PJ Patterson is best known as the worst prime minister of Jamaica. Now, you'll come to wonder why would somebody give such a speech when he himself is considered as the worst prime minister of Jamaica. I guess people tend, or rather come to realize, what they've been doing was bad later on, but they are no longer in power. Now, let's just talk generally about the video. What I love to say is that in Africa, we have a lot of countries, and majority of these countries, they are owned by the West. When I say they are owned, it doesn't really mean that they belong to them, but in other words, you can say they belong to them because these countries, their leaders, they are puppets to the Western leaders. They bow to the Westerners. And you come to wonder why such leaders would even do that. It's the best reason to give is that they only care about their pockets. They are greedy. They are selfish. These are the people who don't really have a vision for our countries. The people who don't really have a vision for us as the citizens of a country. They only care about fattening their pockets. Now, in this case, you'll realize that the West, they really come with big checks. They cash in, or rather they give to our leaders, and our leaders, they turn a blind eye to us as the black people being oppressed. They just watch us being oppressed. And that's why we're seeing a lot of leaders, African leaders. I don't know if I should call them leaders. Let me say politicians. That's why we see a lot of African politicians. They really feel bad for what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing for his country. They cannot do what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. They have failed to do what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing because they know right that whatever Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing is freeing his people, his country, from the chains of the Western leaders. And they don't want that. They only need, or rather they want to continue milking a few cents, a few dollars from these Western leaders, which actually doesn't really make sense. It makes sense to them, but not to us. How about us people who are being oppressed? We've seen a lot of African politicians gang up and try to take down Captain Ibrahim Traore. Now, if you remember the case of Michael Langley, when the West felt that they cannot take down Captain Ibrahim Traore by themselves, they came up with a new strategy. I don't know, it's not a new strategy. It's a strategy that has been used many years ago. I mean, if you can remember well, how Patrice Lumumba was arrested. Black people were used. They were the one chasing Patrice Lumumba with spears, with guns, with machetes. You can imagine that. A black person hunting down his fellow black person just to please this white person. So, our African politicians, they are afraid that they lose these tokens that they are receiving from the Western leaders. And that's why they are afraid to just stand up and fight for us. They are afraid of doing what they are supposed to do. They are afraid of kicking out these Western people in our countries. Captain Ibrahim Traore did end, or rather made sure that the U.S. Army, the French Army are out of Burkina Faso. He said that Burkina Faso has enough manpower to protect itself, that they didn't need these U.S.A. and French armies, militaries. You'll agree with me that these people, they were not there for the benefit of the Burkinabe people. They were there to exploit the resources of the people of Burkina Faso. They exploit the resources, they export them to their countries in the name of their protecting Burkina Faso. So it's really disgusting that the people we voted into power, they are the one leading the queue of the people oppressing us. They always say that an enemy of a black person, of a black man, is a fellow black man. We've seen videos of black people crashing on their fellow black people in the diaspora. They don't really want to see their fellow black people succeed in the diaspora. We've seen Dr. Arikana Chihombori really advocate for black unity. But black people with their arrogance, they cannot listen to that. We keep on singing of unity. Look at Jamaica. Oh God. How I'd wish that we as black people, we could just be united and help our fellow black people who are around the world. Why are we the ones helping the West to oppress them? Why? This is just unbelievable and it's really disgusting. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, Tyrell Reactions. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section what you have to say regarding these videos. Tell me what you think I should change. Tell me what you think I should do better. What on areas that you think I should improve in this new year. And your support, your love is truly appreciated. So remember to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and to my channel, make sure you smash the subscribe button. So until we meet again in my next video, peace out and one love.